Good morning, good people. Hello,
What's
hello.
going on? I'm out here on the street trying to pay attention in
Uh,
traffic. So
so you're in my capable
good
hands
job.
this morning. Um, Welcome to Hope in the Hills in Beverly Hills, California. I'm Reverend Dr. Naima Lett. That is Pastor Kevin Lett, and we out in these streets. Today, I want to talk about the greatest acting ever. The greatest acting ever. Um, Over the summer, we did, it's hot in here, all the different hot topics. And coming up to this election, November the 5th, because this is what is most relevant and on everybody's mind, particularly the anxiety and stress that this election is causing, because this is top of mind. The last few weeks, we've also been handling different topics that people are saying are their hot button topics. So last week we talked about the economy. Before that, of course, we addressed reproductive issues, which come up a lot when we're talking to people of faith. And so we've been in the pocket. But when it's all said and done, when it's all said and done, um, I want to talk about character issues, right? Because we can um, each one of us can say, oh, well, I vote based on how much money I think I'm going to have at the end of the year, or I vote based on, you know, reproductive freedom or not, right? Like we can talk about those things, but what's been bothering me and what I believe is bothering a lot of other believers is when did we the people of God forego character? When did we forego integrity? When did we forego honesty? When did we forego truth? Because my primary calling is as a prophet, and I serve as a shepherd. The truth really matters a lot to me, right? The truth really matters a lot. And I am grieved, so very grieved, that we, the people of God in America, have chosen to just forego truth, what seems like forego truth altogether. Now, granted, I'm not talking about all people of faith, so please, if this ain't you, please don't get offended and start sending me a bunch of different messages, right? Like, if this is not you, then fine. But but if it is, I would you engage with me today? Would you just take a listen? This is only a few minutes, but just hear God's heart. Hear my heart, and consider what our witness has become when we have accepted acting for truth. Isaiah chapter 5, Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drinks, who acquit the guilty for a bribe, but deny justice to the innocent. And then it goes on to actually explain. Won't get into all of the judgments that come, but there's several woes. And the one that stands out to me the most is woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who call good evil and evil good. We have been duped. We have been duped. Now, here at Hope in the Hills, we're not telling you who to vote for, but we definitely talk about what has been going on in our society. And we, as a people of God, have been duped. We have seen some of the best acting ever on the political stage. And I hesitate to even go through this because the last time, in the last election in 2020, when I began to address and call out the racism, because we were doing the 4050 project at that time to heal our racial divide. And when I began to call out truth around racism and truth around candidates and the racist things that they were saying and the racist things that they were doing, we had a fallout. Like almost every other church that tried to address truth, and every other organization, including like a Christianity Today and other publications, anybody that tried to address truth around racism and the candidates and the racist things they were doing and saying, um, all of us caught it. I mean, we just caught it, and people left. It was a great exodus in many of our churches. And as a shepherd, as pastors, it was very painful. It was very painful to me because these were long-term relationships. Like, you know, like when you walk with people, I mean, we're talking long-term relationships, people whom we love and love dearly and still love. And have done our best to try to make amends in the years since, but still, very painful chapter in our lives. And so, because of that, many of us that are in circles of faith, particularly as pastors, many of us who are perceived as not being in the majority, many of us think twice because we consider to ourselves, do we want to go through this again? However, as Jeremiah said, from a prophetic lens, when the word is in you, it's like fire shut up in your bones. And I thought long and hard, like, what is a prophet if you cannot tell the truth? Like, what is your purpose if you cannot stand up and tell the truth? Even if it means backlash, even if it means, you know, folks walk out, even if it means people, you know, send you harassing statements. At the end of the day, what is a prophet if you do not address truth? Woe to those, Isaiah says, who call evil good and good evil. Some of the best acting ever, some of the best acting ever we have seen. There was a segment that this week that really prompted, right? Because for months, I have been praying for those, for producers, particularly those of faith, the producers of The Apprentice show. I have been praying for them to speak up and speak out and to let the world know that they created a character, that they created a reality for a reality show that was not real. And all this time, I've just been in my little prayer closet, been in my little prayer closet, lifting up the prayers for truth to be known. Y'all know I will pray. And I always pray for truth to be known. So I'm in my little prayer closet praying for truth to be known. And this week, finally, this week, um, a producer, one of the producers for The Apprentice, finally began to speak out. And he began to speak and say to everyone who would listen, we created a reality that was not true. And he said he did not speak out in the 2016 election because he was still working. He did not speak out in the 2020 election because at that point he was still working for the company. But as of 2024, he had retired and he was no longer working and under that umbrella. Finally spoke out and um, and accepted responsibility and spoke out as a warning to say, hey, America, we created a reality that was not real. We created an image of an exceptional business person who, who was very successful, even though they were not, who was very wealthy, even though they were not, who like everything was created, who was coherent, even though they were not, who was not racist, even though they were. They had tapes, they had things on tape of very racist things about people of color, and particularly Black people, that they chose not to show. There was just, they created a reality, and then he said they marketed that reality, and they marketed it like to the hilt. He said they poured so much money into marketing this image and marketing this show. And then you had a person who accepted, the role. And the reason they accepted it, it's the producer explained that they had gone to several business people who declined to do the reality show because they were actually in business. They were actually in business and did not have time to do a reality show because they were actually running a business. But the person who said yes to the gig was not actually running a successful business. They had, several small businesses, and they were essentially an entertainer, the greatest acting ever. And they accepted the role and really embodied the role because that's what they wanted to believe about themselves, and that's what they wanted everybody else to believe about them. In some kind of way, with this greatest acting ever, of acting like the most successful business person, even though they were not, acting like the most coherent person, even though they were not. Listen, the producer explained that things would be so incoherent that they would go throughout the week in the back footage in the editing room to create a reality of whoever was chosen to be fired that week. They had to go back in the editing room to make that a reality and try to find clips to match what was said to be the firing, instead of actually going through the process of seeing someone do really poorly. Like they literally had to create it all. And America believed it. America believed it. But this person, with their conscience being convicted, came forward. This producer came forward to say, hey guys, we created a reality that's not true. And you've seen some of the greatest acting ever. You've seen the best acting ever, but it's not true. And at this point, we 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 are desperately trying to get the word out to believe your eyes and believe your ears. Believe what you see. If you see incoherence, that is what has always been there. If you see racism, that is what has always been there. If you see, a person who was not successful in business, that has always been there. And do not vote according to the image that we created in a reality show, but actually call evil evil and call good good, right? Call light light and call darkness darkness. Don't get it twisted, right? He's saying we called evil good and we call good evil, but now we're being honest. I'm coming forth and I'm being honest with you to let you know. So I need you all to heed the call and to not go down the same path. Now, as someone who made my living as an actor before transitioning into ministry full time, or I was doing both at the same time, but I would say before starting the church, what we know about acting and what we as actors know about acting, we can spot. Listen, guys, we can spot great acting and we can spot horrible acting. We're not duped. We see things very clearly. We can see when a person is trying and they're not pulling it off, right? Because what we understand is acting is being. acting is not being false, but acting is being truthful. Acting is being honest. We that are in the world know that the best acting ever is not putting on, but taking off and being vulnerable and allowing you to see. And the best actors ever are comfortable in our own skin. We don't care what you say. There's no vanity there. We don't care, how you perceive. We're committed to telling the truth through our art form. And when we see someone who is not doing that, we know it immediately. We can see it. We can see it. And so many of us are not fooled. And so my plea, I would say, today is for our body of believers in this country. My plea is that we would also get to that place where we say, we will not be duped, where the scales fall from our eyes, where we're able to see the truth, and not just see the truth, but act upon it. Because I think many of us know the truth. Many of us know that what we're seeing is not real. That's not the reality, right? Like, well, I would say the perception that has been sold to us is not the reality. We're actually seeing the real thing. We saw January 6th. It's now being recast. The history is being rewritten, but we saw what we saw. And at the end of the day, if you see what you see and you see the truth, my plea today is that you don't keep going in that direction, that you stop, even if it causes some pain, even if it causes some loss of relationships. God can heal those relationships. He's been doing that. He can heal those. But please don't keep, as Christians, let us not keep calling good evil and calling evil good. Let us not keep saying that light is darkness and darkness is light. Let us not keep saying that what is bitter is sweet and what is sweet is bitter. It's time for us to stop. Just stop. In Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I know it's a sober message on today. Kevin, is there anything you want to say to the people before we hop off? It's a sober message. I know it is. And I want to give some sort of hope. I always want to give some sort of hope at the end, but it is what it is. We're seeing some of the greatest acting ever, and it's time for us to stop going along with it.
But we're in a time of perseverance and endurance. And my encouragement to you is just don't lose faith, because it's going to produce hope at the end of the day. And we're seeing it happen real time.
Yeah.
So we are where we need to be. Just stay focused. Like I said before, don't get distracted. And let's keep moving forward and do what we got to do. It's up to us. So love you guys. Be well. Have a blessed week. And thank you guys for your support. If you want to know how to give, hopeinthehills.org.net/give, or text Hope in the Hills to 44321. We appreciate the prayers. We appreciate the tithes and offerings, the giving. We need all of it. And we're going to keep moving forward. So love y'all. Love you guys.